I don't know if it was so much Conor surprised me how well he boxed because of the way Chris Eubank must have been feeling, because he was, he looked terrible on the scales, absolutely terrible.
Billy Nelson delivers a scathing critique, turning the tables on Conor Benn. While he concedes that Benn exceeded expectations with a stronger than anticipated showing, he doesn't shy away from tearing into Chris Eubank Jr.'s condition on the scales, branding it a visual disaster. But the harsh reality, Nelson argues, is this. Even with Eubank looking completely drained, Benn failed to seize the moment. It's not just a knock on Eubank's physical state, it's a damning indictment of Benn's inability to put away a clearly compromised opponent. Nelson goes as far as to question whether Benn truly belongs at this level of the sport.
I was proud of him. Very, very close fight. Very, very close fight. Not going to go on about the decision. It could have gone either way. Chris done better in the later rounds, which I was very impressed.
Nigel Ben didn't offer excuses or try to shield his son. He simply acknowledged Chris Eubank Jr.'s dominance, particularly in the championship rounds. That quiet acceptance said more than any emotional outburst ever could. There were no protests, no desperate attempts to defend Conor's performance, just the honest recognition from a father that his son wasn't good enough on the night. When even your own father can't defend what happened in the ring, it's a clear sign the fight is truly over. Conor crumbled under the pressure, and Nigel knew there was no saving him from the humiliation. It was a brutal, sobering truth that underlined the magnitude of the defeat.
I don't think Conor performed to his best of his ability. Was winging a lot of shots.
Nigel Ben doesn't hold back, delivering a blunt assessment of Conor's performance. He criticizes his son's wild, reckless swings as aimless and ineffective when the pressure mounted. No finesse, no strategy, just pure chaos. Rather than defend him, Nigel highlights just how unprepared Conor truly was. In contrast, Chris Eubank Jr. stayed composed and methodical, exploiting every weakness with precision. Trainer Tony Sims echoed this sentiment, praising Eubank's composure and ring IQ, which clearly took over in the championship rounds. The difference between the two fighters was undeniable. What did you make of the fight? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
I felt like the last 2 rounds was what really probably won it for Chris, is that he outmanned Conor in the last 2 rounds, out-experienced him.
Sims doesn't mince words, delivering a brutally honest assessment of Conor Benn's performance, calling it nothing short of a disgrace. When it mattered most, Sims says, Conor vanished, while Chris Eubank Jr. rose to the occasion. Those final 2 rounds weren't just competitive, they were one-sided domination. Sims highlights Eubank's superior experience and raw physical strength, pointing out how he physically overpowered Conor when it counted most. The core issue, according to Sims, was composure. Conor lost his, while Eubank remained ice-cold and clinical. There's no ambiguity in Sims's words. Eubank earned every second of that win and proved he's operating on an entirely different level.
Conor Benn was never going to beat him. The fight wasn't close for me. I made Eubank win by at least 3 rounds, maybe 4. And, they're not crying about it, neither of them, mind you, because, I think Eubank was on 10 million guaranteed, Conor Benn's on 7 million guaranteed. That's ridiculous money. And I'm not going to say it was a ridiculous fight. It wasn't a ridiculous fight. It was an entertaining fight.
Intro 5 Duke McKenzie doesn't hold back in his assessment of Chris Eubank Jr.'s dominant win over Conor Benn, confidently stating that Eubank was always destined to come out on top. He scores the fight clearly in Eubank's favor by at least 3 or 4 rounds, calling it a one-sided contest. While the massive purses, $10 million for Eubank and $7 million for Benn, grabbed headlines, McKenzie emphasizes that this bout was about far more than money. For Eubank, it was about cementing his place in the division with a definitive, controversy-free victory. Meanwhile, Ben Whitaker also weighed in, praising both fighters for their heart and determination, and calling the clash a legendary battle that will be remembered for years to come.
Great match. That would be they have a similar physicality, and it was just so exciting to see 2 guys. And as for Conor Benn, he had to give away 18 pounds maybe. He never took a step backwards, and almost 70,000 fans. British fans are still the best, no doubt about it. Great night of boxing.
Michael Buffer was electrified by the breathtaking showdown between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, calling it one of the most thrilling matchups in recent memory. He was struck by how their contrasting physical styles ignited an explosive dynamic in the ring. What truly stood out to Buffer was Benn's relentless, fearless approach. Despite being nearly 18 pounds lighter, he fought like a warrior, charging forward without hesitation. Buffer also gave high praise to the British fans, calling them the best in the world, as nearly 70,000 packed the arena to witness the spectacle. The drama, the passion, the heart, it all screamed classic, reminding everyone why boxing remains one of the most iconic and revered sports. This was a fight fans won't soon forget. What did you think of this unforgettable clash?
Over the moon, absolutely over the moon. To see Chris get his hand raised, and it's been a difficult camp, it's been a difficult time. I think everyone's seen the pictures, everyone's seen the stories, everyone's seen what he's had to go through. Fair play to Conor Benn, because he was phenomenal as well tonight.
Ben Shalom was bursting with excitement after Chris Eubank Jr.'s hard-fought victory, celebrating the win despite the tough road that led there. The camp had endured its share of setbacks, and the toll was evident, but Shalom made sure to give credit where it was due. He praised Conor Benn for an outstanding performance, highlighting his resilience and the way he pushed Eubank to the absolute limit. Ben showed incredible heart and skill, turning the fight into a war that neither man held back from. It was a battle that delivered on every level, creating a spectacle fans won't soon forget. Shalom's admiration for both fighters echoed. Eddie Hearns, calling the bout one of the most thrilling and intense in recent memory. With tensions now at an all-time high, Shalom sees this as just the opening chapter, and he's already looking forward to the next installment in this epic rivalry.
A really good fight. I think it was a lot closer than what it was. Commend Conor Benn immensely because he put on an amazing performance. Remember, he's a welterweight. Never really boxed at world-class level at 160 or around that. Chris has more experience on the world scene than Conor has. Conor did himself proud. I think
Ronnie Nelson gave a brutally honest take on the fight, admitting it was far closer than the scorecards reflected. He commended Conor Benn for his courage in stepping up to the unfamiliar 160-pound division, highlighting Benn's resilience, determination, and sharp technical ability, all of which earned Nelson's respect. However, Nelson was quick to emphasize that Chris Eubank Jr.'s experience at the world-class level ultimately made the difference. Eubank's superior conditioning, ring IQ, and calm under pressure gave him the edge in what was a fiercely contested battle. While Ben pushed him to the limit with heart and grit, Nelson believes it was Eubank's tactical discipline and composure that secured the win. In his eyes, this victory further cements Eubank as the more seasoned, composed, and mentally tough fighter. Despite how close the bout was, Nelson is clear. Eubank earned the victory.
Amazing fight. I think Ben's a great fighter. They're all a great fighter, and I think that was one of the best British boxing fights of all time, for sure. And maybe just
tried to spin a feel-good narrative, calling Eubank Jr. versus Ben one of the greatest British boxing matchups of all time. But let's not get carried away. Strip away the gloss, and what we really saw was Conor Benn getting completely dismantled. Garcia can shower the fight with compliments all he wants, trying to frame it as a modern classic, but the reality was far from that. The only thing truly great about the night was Chris Eubank Jr.'s cold, calculated performance. Eubank wasn't just a step ahead, he was levels above, systematically breaking Ben down, disrupting his rhythm, and exposing the massive gap in class. Garcia's diplomatic take doesn't change what true boxing fans saw, a one-sided beatdown. This wasn't a back-and-forth war, it was a masterclass in why levels matter in boxing. Eubank Jr. proved Ben doesn't belong in the same ring as elite competition. For Conor, it was a harsh, undeniable reality check.
Wants it next. Eddie was talking about maybe going down in weight. I think that if they want to get it on, they do it again, in 6 months' time.
Adam Smith doesn't mince words. He firmly believes Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn are on an unstoppable collision course for a blockbuster rematch. He praises Eubank Jr. for his resilience and remarkable comeback, saying the performance reaffirmed his place among boxing's elite. Despite every obstacle, Eubank handled the pressure like a true champion. On the other side, Conor Benn is just as fired up, driven by a burning desire to prove that his loss to Eubank was nothing more than an outlier. His hunger for redemption is undeniable, and he's determined to silence the doubters once and for all. According to Smith, this rematch isn't just likely, it's inevitable. With both men carrying unfinished business, the stage is set for an epic showdown in 6 months. Ben out for revenge, and Eubank aiming to leave no doubt about his supremacy. This isn't just another fight, it's a defining moment in modern boxing. Don't forget to like, drop your predictions in the comments, and subscribe for all the latest on this explosive rivalry.